All right, good morning 5R. A couple of things I want to go over from the quiz that a lot of students seem to struggle on. You're going to see this stuff again when we're talking about pronoun-antecedent agreement. We're going to get to those notes in a moment. But the thing that I think most of you guys struggled on in the quiz was collective nouns. You're going to have that same theory and thinking when it comes to pronoun-antecedent agreement, so we gotta have to try to straighten this out. So on these two sentences, these were 1 and 2. I think most kiddos struggled on these two. Let's go over them so you can see what to look for when we move on to the test and to pronoun-antecedent agreement. Okay, the pack of wild dogs has scattered in all directions upon hearing the noise. So in this sentence, we have our subject is the collective noun pack. Okay, now this is a collective noun. So we need to look throughout the rest of the sentence for context clues. Now these are challenging, so it does take a lot of close inspection on your part to make sure that you get these things correct. So when we have a pack, which is going to determine whether the collective noun is being looked at as one thing or the individual members that make up that one thing is going to be, as I said, the context. So if we look here, the pack of wild dogs scattered in all directions upon hearing the noise. Because of this prepositional phrase right here, in all directions, that's telling us that the individual members of that pack did different things. They went in different directions. Now, if we look at the sentence down here, this was also on the test. The flock flies fly over this area each autumn. In this sentence, with this collective noun flock, which is my subject, okay, the group, the flock, all of the members in the flock, all of those birds are doing the same thing. They're all flying over this area in the autumn. Because of that, we would look at this flock as singular. So the flock flies, that's my singular verb. The flock flies over this, that should be area. Each autumn. Up here, the dogs are gone in different directions, so they're not all doing the same thing. So we have to look at those as individual members, which would indicate more than one. So we need plural in this case. The pack of wild dogs have scattered in all directions. Now in the second example, I think it's a little easier to see, because in audience, here's my collective noun again, that's my subject. This sentence, because of the context, these people in this audience are obviously all doing different things. They're either taking notes, they're sitting quietly, they're sleeping. Everyone's not doing the same thing, so we're not looking at this as one thing. We're looking at this as the individual members, therefore we would need plural. So the audience were taking notes, sitting, yada, yada, yada. In this one, it's a little more obvious because the list breaks down that the audience members are all doing different things. In the first example, you kind of have to look at the sentence a little more carefully to figure out, okay, so they scattered in all directions. Well, I got to do a little more connecting of the dots right there. We have one more I want to show you from the quiz that the sentence had to do with faculty. In that particular sentence, it was plural as well. In that sentence, let's see. All right, the faculty are meeting with their team captains in their classrooms. Now, I wanted to kind of save this example for last because I think this is going to help lead us into the pronoun-antecedent agreement as well, where we're going to face similar issues, okay? So, when we look at this sentence, again, we're identifying the subject. The subject is faculty, right here. In fact, it's a collective noun. Now, the context clues in this sense are a little more subtle. So what I'm looking for here, the faculty are meeting with their team captains in their classrooms. This right here is my indicator that I need a plural verb. when we're looking at subject-verb agreement, we're looking at pronoun-antecedent agreement, we can look to the other to see what it's going to be. So let me explain what that means. So the faculty, when I see their team, their classrooms, their is plural. That's a plural pronoun. So that means the antecedent faculty is plural as well. They need to agree. If I see that and I know that, then I know I'm going to need the plural verb. It all needs to agree together. So I have the faculty are meeting with their team captains in their classrooms. So to show you how this is going to translate into pronoun antecedent agreement, let's just change things up a little bit. Instead of looking for the subject-verb agreement, right? And I'll tell you what, let me do that in a different color so you can see it. The faculty are meeting. Now, on this part, we're going to have to figure out whether it's going to be it's or their. Let's see, that would be captains. Okay, so the faculty are meeting with it's their captains, and then we'll just get rid of this to make it look a little easier for you. Okay, the faculty are meeting with it's their captains. Well, now, instead of subject-verb agreement, I'm looking for pronoun-antecedent agreement. So I know my pronoun is it's or their. I need to figure out what the antecedent is. The antecedent is going to be faculty, the collective noun. Same issue. Is faculty singular? Is it plural? It's a collective noun. It can be either. I don't know. So what's my context clue that's going to help me? Well, in this sentence, the context clue that's going to help me figure that out is this right here, the verb. So if I look at the predicate, I see the faculty are. This is showing me that I'm considering faculty as a plural noun, which means this needs to be plural, so there is going to be the choice. So I hope that makes sense to you. If you have any questions, ask me about it. I'll be glad to explain it a little further. All right, let's look at some of these other notes that I had you guys take yesterday that we'll be moving forward with for today's exercise, as well as next week when we come back from Easter break. We'll do some more exercises. We'll do a little review. We'll put it all together, and we'll see how we do on the test. Okay, I think of all the rules that we have for pronoun antecedent agreement, the one that is the most tricky is going to be the singular indefinite pronouns. Singular indefinite pronouns. And I think where we get messed up is when we have a prepositional phrase that comes in between the subject and the verb that kind of makes us think that maybe the antecedent is the object of the preposition and not the object of the preposition and not the subject. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the example from the book under that. So this would be, what is that, 8Q. So this is rule 8Q. All right, so the example is each of the snakes escaped, and our choices are going to be either its or their. Cage. Okay. I think one of the most challenging parts about this, and we talked a little bit about this before we had this current situation going on, is that the ear test doesn't really work for this because proper English doesn't necessarily line up with the way we speak to each other. And so we're familiar with what we hear through speaking and dialogue. However, that's not always the case. So this would be an instance right here, and I think this is a good example. Each of the snakes escaped its their cage. Most people jump to their right away. Each of the snakes escaped their cage. We have a pronoun antecedent agreement problem right here. So in this sentence, my subject is each. This is an indefinite pronoun. the word snakes in this prepositional phrase can throw us for a loop because this is telling us what this is right here. So, sometimes we have a pronoun that is an antecedent for another pronoun. That's the case here. So the antecedent for this pronoun is snakes. This is what it's telling us about, but each is singular. It's always going to be singular. When I'm talking about cage and whose cage it is, I'm referring to the subject, which is singular. I'm talking about each individual snake. So each individual snake escaped its cage. Each escaped its cage. It's tricky. I know it's tough. Hang in there. You have to look at it carefully. So pay particular attention to singular indefinite pronouns. Those are tricky. Okay. The next couple rules, the one we have with pronouns, indefinite pronouns that are always plural, just have your notes handy. They're always plural. You're always going to require a plural pronoun. We have a few that can be either. And again, this is similar to subject-verb agreement. So let's take a look at these. Those would be all, any, more, most, none, and some. Just have that list next to you in your rule book, and you should be okay. So let's take a look at that one. Go ahead, buddy. Okay, so we have let's look at the second example. Okay, we have none of the casserole is left, semicolon. It was terrific. Okay, and in the second example, none of the casseroles are left. They were terrific. Okay, so in these two examples, when we have those indefinite pronouns that could be either way, your keys are going to be the same as they always were, right? We're looking at the verb. The verb's going to help us out a lot. We need to try to figure out what the antecedent for these two are. So in these two prepositional phrases, the object of the preposition here is singular, here it's plural. This is showing me what none is representing. So the antecedent is the casserole. The antecedent for the second example is the casseroles. So therefore, when we come over here and we have this pronoun, which is now referring to the antecedent that was the subject of the first part of the sentence, I have to figure out, kind of connect the dots. So it's a little bit difficult, but you just have to look at it carefully and take your time. So because none of the casserole is, subject-verb agreement is singular, it needs to be singular in this sentence. Subject-verb agreement, are is plural, they needs to be plural in the back part of this sentence right here. And you also have this verb, and you also have this verb that can help you out. So when you're doing your pronoun antecedent agreement, you can lean on subject-verb agreement as well. There are many different ways that you can arrive at the correct answer. So those are those two. Okay, let's take a look at the compound subjects. They work the same way. You have to pay attention to which conjunction is being used to join them. So if we have and joining our compound subject, it's always going to be plural. Let's take a look at an example of that one. Okay, so let's see. Let's say Angelo and Max, right? So I have and, which means it's the two of them together. That's going to be plural no matter what. told me that they were hungry. Okay, so if my choices are they and he, Angelo and Max told me that they or he were hungry. Again, there's a couple things I can look at. This verb right here is plural. That helps me figure out I need subject-verb agreement. They were hungry. Also, I have this indicator right here. So my compound subject's using the conjunction and. We look at them together. That means it's going to be plural, not singular. I need plural pronoun. Pretty simple. Okay, now, if we were to change this, I'm going to have to change that too. If I said Angelo or Max, now I have or instead. Angelo or Max told me that. Now, I would have to change this verb down here. This isn't going to be a choice. This should be there for you, so this would be one of your keys. That would have to change to was. Because it's one or the other, and both choices are singular, then I'm going to need a singular pronoun. So in this case, Angelo or Max told me that he was hungry. Now I have pronoun antecedent as well as subject-verb agreement. Pretty easy. Okay, let's see if there's anything else we need to look at right here. Definitely think we should probably take a look at the collective nouns. The collective nouns can throw you for a loop like they did in the quiz. It's the same thing that would include expressions or amounts, right? Depending on whether we're talking about like the one that was the 50 cents, the 2 quarters, or on the ground by the vending machine. Those 2 quarters we were looking at individually. We weren't looking at that as an amount, so we needed plural right there. So let's take a look in this example right here. We'll go to the book. That way you have these examples in front of you. If you need them, you can refer to them. Okay, so we'll use cast again. Or I tell you what, let's look at faculty because that was the one that I thought was a little easier to look at. Okay, so the faculty has prepared its report. And the faculty are returning to their classrooms. Okay, so when we look at this, we have faculty again. Faculty is my subject. We know that's a collective noun. In the first sentence, the faculty has prepared its report. So there's a couple of indicators here that show me that faculty is being looked at as one thing. Has, right? Has is my main thing. This subject needs to agree with this verb. Has is singular. I'm looking at faculty as singular. So when I'm talking about its, I would not say their right here. I would need its. There would not work, right? The faculty has prepared their report. Okay, that would be wrong. So not only do I have the verb, but I could also look at report right here. Here is the direct object. The direct object is singular. If this were reports, right? The faculty have prepared their reports. Now I have the verb and I have the direct object that's helping me figure out the agreement that I need with the pronoun for the antecedent faculty. In the second example, again, are, that's plural, right? So I know I'm looking at the faculty members as individual members. The faculty returning to their classrooms, and again, I have plural for classrooms right here in this prepositional phrase. So I would need their and not its. So it's kind of the same thing. I don't want this video to get too long and overwhelm you guys. If you have questions, ask me. I'm going to try to do a better job of having chat office hours for you guys when we come back from Easter. That way you can ask me questions in real time when you're doing your assignments, and we can kind of work through the issues that you come across together. Otherwise, I hope everybody's safe. Love you guys, miss you guys, happy Easter, and hopefully, again, we'll see you sooner than later. Cheers.